Guest this week is a man who spent years at the heart of the NHS and has just released a book about what it's really like to be a junior doctor that's both naturally funny and really insightful. Please welcome the brilliant Adam Kay. How are you, mate?
I'm well.
Good. So, you've just written a book on the NHS, I believe, is it 7 years after you left?
7 years after I left.
And why now?
So these were the diaries I kept when I was a junior doctor.
Right.
And then, you remember a year and a bit ago, junior doctors weren't having the best time of it.
Yes.
And Jeremy Hunt wasn't being very nice.
It's a lovely way of putting it, yeah.
Jeremy Hunt was claiming that doctors were striking because they were being greedy.
Yes.
And they weren't, and he knew that. And it was like a dagger in my heart every time he said on the media doctors were being greedy, because he's got a very loud voice, he's got access to all the media.
Yes.
Doctors have a very quiet voice. You know, they're doctors, they're at work being doctors. And I thought, the public don't actually understand what it actually means to be a doctor, the toll it takes on your day-to-day life at home and at work. And I had these diaries I'd kept whilst I was a doctor, which were a fair reflection of what it was like.
And now the book's out.
The book's out, it's called This Is Going to Hurt, Secret Diaries of a Junior Doctor, and it's literally that. The sad stuff and the funny stuff and the mundane stuff and the boring stuff and just everything it means, adding up to people who aren't greedy. So I wrote this book because every doctor's got the same story, but no doctor's got the time to, you know, go out and say the truth of it. And
it's a brilliant book.
Thank you so much.
You should be really proud. And I think it's something that we're all fascinated in. I'm interested in it because my girlfriend's a doctor.
You've got skin in the game.
I do have skin in the game, literally. And
That's not making it in, is it?
No, oh, that will make it in.
Yeah, okay.
That's another thing she says. What I'm fascinated about you guys is that accusation that you're greedy. You know, like, I always feel like... I feel bad for the job I have, and I love my job, but I get paid doing a job that is ultimately silly versus doctors that do something that is vital, and they never complain about how much they get paid. Like, every day my girlfriend will come home, she'll have stories about people she saved or people she couldn't, and that's what motivates and drives them.
Exactly, the best interest of the patient.
And it feels like there's a real, like, the sort of Mail and the Express, there's this desire to paint you out as these kind of, you know, oh, look at them, they're getting all this money. And you're like, A, you're not getting this money, and B, everybody has been impacted by the NHS. They cared for my nan and granddad when they died, and they did it beautifully and with respect and with tenderness. And everyone has a story, and it kind of kills us. Because look at you, you know, you look knackered. You look like...
And I haven't worked for 7 years.
Yeah, I know. But before that, you were... Like, didn't you delivered... Am I right in saying, is it 1,200 babies?
It was somewhere in the order of 1,200 babies.
1,200 babies?
Yeah.
Can you remember the first time when it kind of came out?
I do. So I was doing a forceps extraction, so sort of salad tongs, pulling the baby out, and I was being guided through by my boss. Yeah. And she was talking me through it, and I just delivered the baby. Yeah. And then she said, "Well done, you've done amazingly well." And I said, "Thank you so much." And I realised she was talking to the mother.
That was so brilliant. See, the other thing that fascinates me about doctors, what's it like breaking bad news?
Breaking bad news is not the best part of the job. Yeah. You want to be able to give people good news. But the most memorable bit of bad news for me wasn't we did everything we could, or I'm afraid it's cancer. It was slightly more unusual. I had to tell a woman that something unpleasant had happened to her frail, elderly father the night before, that unfortunately the gentleman in the bed next to her father's had become very agitated overnight and got confused and thought that her father was, in fact, his own wife, and that by the time the nurses attended, this gentleman had unfortunately straddled her father and ejaculated onto his face. And the woman said,
"Did you try and pass that off as a sneeze?"
She took it very, very well. It's important not to lie to your patients. And she said, "Well, at least it didn't go any further than that."
Who has to clean him down? Because, again, that is not a lucky person on thousands if you kind of go, "Adam, yeah, there's a bloke with spunk on his face." Yeah. Off you pop.
No one working in a hospital at any time is in it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. You know, be it love of cleaning up semen or money. one hopes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, doctors are all people who were on for straight A's at A-level and decided, you know, of all the options available to them, they could go into the city, they could do any number of things if they had the dollar signs in their eyes, but they don't. They decide to go in because they want to help people. And then if people in politics lie and say they're being greedy and the public, that's all they hear, you know, you can only react to what you're hearing.
And with that desire to save, have you ever done something that maybe you shouldn't have done just to help a patient?
All doctors every day, you know, stay 2 hours late after work or whatever because you can't leave someone who's bleeding or you can't, you know, it's not an option to go home on time always. But one that sticks in my mind, there was an 85-year-old gynae cancer patient who broke our hearts on the ward round. She told us that she missed her late husband and her children had barely visited her and she couldn't even have her normal whiskey nightcap when she was in the hospital. So I played Boy Scout and prescribed whiskey 50 mils once a night on her drug chart, and I gave the house officer, the most junior doctor, I gave him 20 quid to go to the supermarket to
out
buy
of your own money?
Out of my own money.
Fucking legends. And stuff like that. But it's but that in a nutshell, that is caring for people, isn't it? Because it's like, in that instant, you've got a very frightened old lady who needs a home comfort, and you, not on a huge amount of money, went, oh, get her that, it'll be sweet. It's beautiful.
However...
OK.
In the morning,
Tom, please.
The ward sister reported that she declined her whiskey because, I quote, Jack Daniels is fucking cat piss.
Well, there you go. What's the weirdest thing you've ever fished out of someone? That's another...
Well, that's a very good question.
Come on, you always see these, like... There's always, like, there's like a Ken doll in someone.
I'm only struggling to think because there were so many. Right. So, there was generally special occasions that made people do weird things with things. So, like, Christmas had its fair share, like, had a stuck fairy, in fact, not a Ken doll. I had a mistletoe contact allergy causing a big vaginal swelling. I had vaginal burns from someone sticking a string of lights inside and turning them on. Bringing new meaning to the phrase, I put the Christmas lights up myself.
Yes. Yeah. I think they cut that from Home Alone, that scene. Here's a good question for you. Do you think Jeremy Hunt's read your book?
He's definitely got a copy of my book, and I know this because I sent him one, and then every single book signing I've done, someone, at least one person during the signing has come and said, can I have a second copy to send to Jeremy Hunt?
Wow.
So he's got this sort of fucking pile of them on his desk.
We have to do that. Absolutely. So everyone buy a copy of this book and then buy another copy, put to Jeremy and send it to him.
There's a possibly
and also, you're going to be minted out of this as well.
Yes, I'll be able to afford a chair made out of chair.
Fucking hell. I mean, do you not like this? I think it's all right. Are you not a fan?
I mean, you'd send it back, wouldn't you? If this arrived from IKEA.
I like it, but I like you.
I suspect he may read it. I don't think it'll change his mind. Bear in mind that this is a man who got in a statistical argument with Stephen Hawking about who was right, which is the intellectual equivalent, I guess, of, you know, ripping off your shirt and jumping into a tiger's den and screaming out, "Fucking have you, pal!" Whether or not he reads it, he's not going to believe that he's wrong, is he?
Have you met Jeremy Hunt?
I've not met him.
If you met him and you had to say one thing, what would it be?
I would say...
He might be watching the show, so we might be able to send it to him.
If he is watching the show, and if I ever did meet him, I would beg him to do some shifts with junior doctors, because I know ministers go round hospitals, but that's the chief executive taking them around some brand-new ward that's shiny like a space station. I'd have him literally shadow a junior doctor to see what the job actually is, to see him witness, you know, a trauma victim having their leg amputated. He needs to see someone delivering a dead baby, a cancer patient being palliated, because I defy any human being to know what that job actually is, and then question a doctor's motivation, because he'd be fucking applauding them and he'd be proud of them and he'd be humbled by them and every single healthcare professional, and never again would he ever claim that doctors are being greedy.